Shalom, shalom. Welcome to Supporting Yah's Cornerstone. My name is Heshra'ah, and that name means moved by Yah. In today's video, I want to talk about character flaws and how they can be as addictive as being on drugs and alcohol, and how sincere people can have character flaws and bad habits that they need to change. That a person having character flaws or bad habits is not always reflective of their sincerity to live for the Creator. And at first, I did not have this understanding many years ago. I thank the Creator, Yahweh, for blessing me to gain an understanding. And I thank Him for being merciful through my ignorance on that. But sometimes we do believe that if a person was sincere, why are they doing this or that? Or why do they always do X, Y, Z? But most of us come into this way of life with bad habits and unrighteous behavior. And even the children who are born into this way of life and who are being raised in this way of life, they have bad habits and character flaws to get rid of sometimes too. It's just that, thank Yah, the Creator teaches us, the parents that are raising them, we have a better understanding sometimes than, how we were raised and how we grew up sometimes, especially as it pertains to the ways of the Creator. Another thing about that is the Creator gives us a better understanding than we would have had if our thinking was just according to how regular mainstream society is going too. So that's why our children benefit a lot from a lot of times. But yet and still, even some of the children that's being raised in Hebrew Israelite lifestyle have character flaws. They have their personalities too. But definitely us who spent a lot of years of our lives, we weren't raised according to Yah's law. And then even in that, we came from different living situations sometimes where our characters weren't paid attention to, or we weren't, our bad habits or character flaws could have been dealt with, but for different reasons it wasn't. And sometimes that could be just a matter of having parents that worked, having parents that didn't have time, or not having parents at all. Maybe having a guardian was just busy or this or that. But for whatever reasons, a lot of us, we have carried bad character habits, character flaws, and bad habits from childhood. For some of us, we developed certain things as we got older. That is not reflective of our guardians or how we grew up. So I have to take that into account too. In other words, everything is not our parents or guardians' fault. Some habits we just picked up later, or we just picked up ourselves as we got older. So a bad habit or character flaw is not always reflective of a person not wanting to live for Yah. Just like drugs and alcohol is an addiction, bad behavior can be an addiction. But oftentimes in this society or in the world, it's not seen that way. But whoring and homongering, lying, being deceitful, being lazy, all these character flaws can be addictive. Throughout our lives, sometimes people have made those habits, made lying a habit, used to sleeping around a habit. Certain thought patterns is a habit. Some people, they used to get in whatever they want through deceit. That's just what they used to. So it's a habit. I'm used to doing that. I know that sounds strange, but those behaviors can be addictive behaviors. Laziness can be an addictive behavior. I'm used to sitting around. I'm used to just barely doing the minimum for whatever reason. And so that's what I do. And so when we understand that way, then we understand that just as a person wouldn't overcome a drug addiction or alcohol addiction overnight, people a lot of times are not going to overcome their character flaws and their bad habits overnight either. They may hear the law saying, thou shalt not lie one to another. But the truth is, if they used to lying and that's a habit, that's not going to change the next day. It's not going to change the next week. It'll probably decrease, especially as it's brought to their attention. But it's definitely most of the time will not change overnight. Another thing is that sometimes people never overcome those things. Sometimes they sincere about they walk with Yah, but they just never are able to overcome those things. And so they fail in their walk with Yah sometimes because of it. So you have people who were sincere in their efforts to serve Yah, or in the thought of that's what they wanted to do, but they just never could overcome. And so therefore they couldn't walk with Yah. A lot of times there's an assumption that if a person doesn't walk with Yah, or a person stops walking with Yah, it's because they didn't want to. Well, they really didn't want it. Well, that's not always the case. You have some people that really have a desire to get off drugs, but they just never muster up enough strength and discipline to do it. Then you have some people that do. So it's the same way with character flaws too. And so I just wanted to bring that to all of our attention in this video. Some things to remember when it comes to character flaws. And so now I'm going to use the word sin, because most of the time when you're talking about bad character flaws, those things are also most of the time sinful or against the Creator. So one point to remember is for all of us to remember is that in Ecclesiastes 7:20 says, "For there is not a just man upon the earth that doeth good and sinneth not." So at some point in all of our lives, we have done some unrighteousness against Yah, or most of the time have had something in our character or something that was not according to what Yah would want. So I think that's an important point to remember. 1 Kings 8:46 says, "If they sin against thee, for there is no man that sinneth not." And in this case, we know the word man is probably translated to mean, really, if you translate it, would mean humanity. So in this particular case, that I think this was King Solomon was saying that there is no man that sinneth not. There's nobody that hadn't sinned or fallen short in their behavior or character. Have fallen short of what Yah have ordered or would have wanted. So this is something important to remember. And if I look down, I'm looking down at my notes. I mention this only to bring to mind that most of us have sinned against Yah in one way or another, through character flaws or bad habits. If you've seen any of my get to know me videos, or even in some of my what I've read videos, I talk about how I used to live. Definitely I was not living for Yah before, I made the decision to when I was 23. And then even after I made the conscious decision to live for Yah when I was 23 years old, I'm 46 now. I thank the Creator for that. But even after, I still made mistakes. I still had character flaws to overcome that were unrighteous. I had unrighteous ways of thinking, even after I made the decision to live for Yah. So I think that's because when we can understand things sometimes through our own experience, then it helps us to have compassion and understanding for other people too, and what they're going through. I encourage you, despite all the bad you've experienced with people, don't let that take away your compassion for them. And remember the effects of sin, and remember the effects and the impact sin can have in our lives. I know just there was a time when I did not have the thought pattern to sit here and speak as I'm speaking today. That I didn't have this knowledge to share. I might have could have talked to you about going to college or how to get a job or how to do this or that. But when it came to righteousness, how to deal with people and other things, or how to be a wife or how a woman should be or all these things, I couldn't speak on that because I didn't know about it and I didn't do it and I didn't live it. There was a point in my life when that was a part of my story. It wasn't my whole story, but it was a part of my story. So definitely I know, and I remember how my mouth used to be, how I used to talk sometimes to people. I was mostly a quiet person, but then I had times when I was just disrespectful, and that's just period. So I remember that. I remember the anger. I remember why I did certain things. Then some things I did, it wasn't an excuse for it. I remember all of that, So, and then I came into this way of life, and everything didn't change overnight. And so I just think it's important for us to reflect, that as we reflect on our own experience and how we were or how we are, then we can begin to understand, and maybe be a little more helpful in other people's journey to change. So that's one point I wanted to bring out. The next thing is how to help. How can you help a person, that's coming to your study group or that you may be witnessing to, or, something like that. Definitely the ones that are coming into your study groups, no matter how big or how small they are. But how can you help them? Number one, if possible, let a person know when the behavior or conduct is wrong. So if they're practicing behavior that is wrong, let them know. But you want to do that first privately. Never publicly if you don't have to. First privately. Leviticus 19:17 says, "Thou shalt not hate thy brother in thine heart. Thou shalt in any wise rebuke thy neighbor and not suffer sin upon him." So it don't tell us to gossip about it or sit back and, not say anything. It doesn't say that. I have, I think, 2 videos on this channel that talk about gossiping. What gossiping is and what gossiping is not. Doing Leviticus 19:17 is not gossiping. Now, for the sake of the length of this video, I'm not going to go into that, but I do have 2 videos on gossiping, what it is and what it is not. And I think you can go to the playlist and see it too. Go to the playlist portion of this channel and click it and be able to listen to those. But in this lifestyle, sometimes I've noticed over the years that we end up gossiping. Either 2 things happen. Either 1, we don't tell people when they're wrong, or 2, we may do it in the wrong way, or 3, we just gossip about it amongst each other. None of that is helpful. If you quiet and you need to be speaking, that's not helpful. If you talking but you gossiping, that's not helpful. But Leviticus 19:17, that can be helpful. Because even if a person end up leaving your study group for whatever reason, they may remember on down the road, I remember Sister So-and-so talked to me and they told me that, I got too smart with leadership, or I was, I need to talk without cursing all the time. Sometimes, you plant a righteous seed, you don't always get to see the fruitation of it. Sometimes you see it later. But definitely Leviticus 19:17 advises us to go talk to the person about their wrong. That's what rebuke is. Ecclesiastes 7:5 says, "It is better to hear the rebuke of the wise than for a man to hear the song of fools." So there it is again, talking about rebuke. That is good from a wise person, from a person of understanding, to tell you when you're wrong. And so that's one way we can help people, by letting them know. First, privately if you can. If you're nervous about it, take one other person that is not a gossip. that is not a drama, I hate to say drama queen, but that is not dramatic, but that's going to keep things in its place. Okay. So that's one way that you can help, by letting a person know. Letting them know that such and such is not good conduct, letting them know that. Number 2, another way you can help, pray for them. Pray for those struggling with character flaws. We all know that it takes work on the other person's part in order to change something. So when I pray for people in a character flaw, I pray for them with that awareness. So I ask y'all to add to their strength to overcome their character flaw. Whatever character flaw he's working with them on at the moment. Because normally, through my experience, y'all do not work with a person on 3 or 4 or 5 or 6 character flaws at the same time. Normally, it seems like it's about 1 or 2 at a time. And I thank him for that, because if we had to work on everything at one time, it'd be too much. So I thank him for that. And even in my own life, I just really thank him for being merciful in that way. Next, another way to help. Give the person tips on how to overcome their struggle in an area. If you have tips, or refer them to somebody who does have tips on how to overcome whatever character flaw. It may be someone out there that have overcome laziness. Maybe you overcame laziness. How did you do it? I heard a young lady say one time she used to stay in the bed too long. And she had kind of a lazy spirit. She said, one thing I did was, even though I was living in one big room and I was working in the same room, she put a separation between her bed and her workspace. So she made an effort to not try to work in her bed space, but to cross over to the workspace. But just little different things that she did to help herself overcome laziness. Maybe you have tips on overcoming lying. Overcoming being quick-tempered. So that's another way to help. If you have tips on how to overcome a character flaw, share it. Next way to help. Don't indulge the wrong behavior. By indulging it with them, this sometimes happens, for example, with gossip. You have some people, they like drama, they like to gossip, they like to just, talk negative of others for no particular purpose or reason. And sometimes we get pulled into that, whether it's gossiping, lying, being deceitful, whatever it is that a person is trying to deal with in a character. Don't you indulge it by participating in it. Okay? What this does when you don't participate in it, and I have tried this tip with many people, this can encourage people over time and silently forces them to practice better behavior, even if it's just around you. So I have people sometimes over the years that they gossip, but guess what? When they realize a Koti Heshra is not finna indulge that when they around me, then most of the time they get the message quick and they don't do it. They know you might as well hop to another topic. If you finna talk about somebody in a negative way for no particular reason, if there's no, unless it's for some form of a reason, not just random entertainment, then I'm not going to indulge that. So most people, what they'll do, they'll move on to something else. They'll move on to another topic, because guess what? It's more things to talk about than just sit and talk about other people's problems, other people's trying to entertain yourself, I'll say that, with other people's problems. When it comes to deceit, sometimes people try to pull you into their deceit when they have that type of spirit. If I know about it, if I know that's the direction a person going in, I don't indulge that either. I'm not going to help you do wrong by somebody. If I know that's why you asking me to do something, because you want that to be a part of me helping you do wrong by somebody, I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to participate in it. And people will try it sometimes. I hate to use one example, so I won't use it in this one. But I know some ways people try it. You know, I want to, well, I just want to use that example. But anyway, it's ways that people sometimes try to pull you into deceit so they can get something out of it so they can get an unrighteous deed done. Okay. And so, I'm not going to indulge it at all. Okay. So don't indulge. And then if you indulge it by accident, just be sure don't do it again. And you can let the person know, I would help you, but I'm not going to help you if your end goal is to cause someone to do wrong. And they may be upset at first, but it's okay. Every day and every moment is not always a happy day and a happy moment. They'll get over it. Sincere people will struggle consistently and over time to overcome the character flaw Yah is working with them on. So that's one thing over years I noticed with really sincere people is that over time you're going to see them struggling to get rid of whatever character flaw that is. You're going to see that. Even when they error, they're going to try to get themselves back on track. Proverbs 24:16 says, for a just man falleth 7 times and riseth up again, but the wicked shall fall into mischief. And so in that case too, I'm going to say man more than likely in this particular case means just humanity. We all make mistakes sometimes, men and women. But that's the thing, when people are really sincere, you're going to see them struggle through, their character flaws. And so in other words, you're going to see them error. If they used to gossiping, maybe they go back to gossiping this day. But then if it's brought to their attention or they bring it to their own attention, you'll see the next time you with them, so-and-so didn't just sit around and talk about other people the whole time we was together. You'll see them struggling through, struggling through their character flaw or their bad behavior. But I hope this video was helpful. If you would like to contact me, you can at yahscornerstone@gmail.com, at yahscornerstone@gmail.com. You can also follow me on Instagram at supporting Yah's Cornerstone. You can leave messages there also. Also, there's a Facebook page called Supporting Yah's Cornerstone. You can also leave comments at the bottom of this YouTube video if you would like. Thank you for your time. Shalom, shalom.